Arun Goel, a former Punjab cadre 1985 batch IAS officer, took voluntary retirement as a secretary of Ministry of Heavy Industries, and a day later, he was appointed as the election commissioner. Soon, a controversy brewed over the appointment of Goel. Questions were asked about the cause behind the tearing hurry in the appointment of the election commissioner. The Supreme Court too asked the government why the file related to the appointment of the election commissioner moved super fast with a tearing urgency. Can the election commissioner be appointed at the discretion of the government in power? If yes, then does it not compromise the independence and neutrality of the Election Commission of India? Let's unbreak this news. Arun Goel, a former Punjab cadre IAS officer of the 1985 batch, was scheduled to retire as the secretary of the Ministry of Heavy Industries on December 31st. But just 6 weeks before his superannuation, Goel took voluntary retirement from service. His VRS was approved on November 18th, and just a day later, he was appointed as the election commissioner. Soon the appointment of the election commissioner came under the lens of the Supreme Court of India. The top court grilled the Modi government over the tearing hurry in its decision over the appointment of Goel as the election commissioner. After inspecting the official files regarding the appointment of Arun Goel, the Apex Court said that this appointment was made with lightning speed, a procedure that took less than 24 hours. The court asked the government whether there was any tearing urgency to fill the position. The top court told the government that this was a violation of Section 6 of the Election Commission, Conditions of Service of Election Commissioners and Transaction of Business Act of 1991. The court told the government that Arun Goel took voluntary retirement from service in a single day. His file was cleared by the Law Ministry in a single day. When a panel of 4 names were put across before the Prime Minister, Goel's name was cleared within a single day. What was the urgency? The court asked when there was a vacancy on May 15th for the post of the election commissioner, the entire process was delayed till November 18th, and then it was suddenly put on a super fast track mode.
Supposing the election commissioner is asked to take on none less than the Prime Minister himself.
Please.
Giving an example.
Yes.
Just an example.
We are testing this one.
Hypothetical example. Supposing the election commissioner sort of, is so weak-kneed.
Yes.
That he says, okay, carries with it, he doesn't get around to doing it. Will it not be a case of complete breakdown of the system then? It's just giving an example.
Yes, Valentine.
The reason being that he's a man who's supposed to be completely insulated.
Yes.
And when you talked about character,
yes,
character consists of various components.
Various components.
Like integrity,
yes,
honesty. But one particular characteristic required is independence.
Well, certainly, yes.
Independence is, like you said, we don't care. One of your election commissioners, in fact, resigned.
Yes.
You don't want to go there.
Yes, Valentine.
So these are the aspects which perhaps the participation of a larger body,
yes,
instead of the cabinet, which always, as we know, it's only self-serving because it's natural.
Yes.
They would like to perpetuate themselves in power. Any party.
Please
not saying all
yes.
parties will have that.
Yes, all parties, irrespective
yes. of the political color.
Yes.
That is why from 1990, committee after committee after committee keeps reporting. There is a dire need for change. Political parties, leaders keep shouting from the rooftops. But on the ground, nothing will happen.
The court, through these statements, made very valid arguments and raised several pertinent points. The court made it clear that the man who becomes the election commissioner cannot be a yes man of the government in power. The bench questioned the independence of the appointment process of the election commissioner.
Same thing I would suggest, my lord, so far as election commission is concerned. Of course, my default suggestion would be to follow what the law commission has said. That is, Prime Minister, Leader of Opposition, Chief Justice. But my first suggestion, in my respectful submission, is both the Prime Minister and the Leader of Opposition heading political parties which are key players in the election process, ideally should not have a say in the selection of election commissioners, because election commission is the body which is going to decide not only disputes between the government and the opposition, etc., but is going to play such a critical role where the interests of the ruling party and the opposition are directly involved. Therefore, in my respectful submission, my lord, the selection should be by a body which is totally neutral. So such a body could be the Collegium of the Supreme Court. This is one possibility. The other possibility is that you say Chief Justice of India. You can add the present Chief Election Commissioner, because outgoing chief or the existing, if the selection of a member of the election commission, then the present chief election commissioner. You can add perhaps chairman of Human Rights Commission or somebody like that. You can add perhaps, I am not saying, my lord, what the situation is today. I am saying that ideally it should be, the selection should be in the hands of a body which is totally neutral.
The Election Commission of India is an autonomous constitutional authority responsible for administering union and state election processes. The Election Commission of India also administers elections to the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, state legislative assemblies in India, and the offices of the President and Vice President. So, can the appointment of the election commissioners and the Chief Election Commissioner be made at the whims and fancies of the government in power? If yes, will it not impact the free and fair conduct of elections and thereby compromise the very foundations of our democracy? The top court was of the view that setting up a model of how the election commissioners and Chief Election Commissioner are appointed is a much needed step. At the moment, the election commissioners are appointed by the President on the advice of the central government. Several pleas in the Supreme Court are challenging this very system and are demanding a collegium of the Prime Minister, the Leader of the Opposition, and the Chief Justice of India to select the member for the post instead of leaving it to the government. In the absence of this, the concerns are that the executive will growingly influence the Election Commission. Former Chief Election Commissioner S.Y. Qureshi writes, "The root of the problem lies in the flawed system of appointment of the election commissioners. They are appointed unilaterally by the government of the day. It's important to recall B.R. Ambedkar's statement to the Constituent Assembly that the tenure can't be made a fixed and secure tenure if there is no provision in the Constitution to prevent a fool or a knave or a person who is likely to be under the thumb of the executive." Qureshi in his article also addresses the problem of uncertainty over the elevation of an election commissioner to the post of the CEC, which makes him vulnerable to government pressure. He writes, "They consider themselves on probation, always conscious of how their conduct is viewed by the government, which can exploit this fear. Since all three members have equal voting rights and all decisions in the commission are taken by the majority, the government can even control an independent-minded CEC through the majority voting power of the two election commissioners." India is the world's largest democracy. India runs the biggest elections in the world. Conducting free and fair elections is the cornerstone of our democracy. Can we boast of being the largest democracy if our election commission's neutrality and independence are compromised?